What's up, guys? My name is Dusty Chapora. I am an ADHD coach based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we're here to talk about parenting toddlers. Welcome back to the video about how frustrating it is to be a parent when you have ADHD. This is a video about parenting a toddler from the ages of 12 months up to 24 months and beyond, because why not? They're toddlers for a while. This video was made drawing on the experiences of several people that I solicited on social media to tell me their experiences about what it's like to be a parent when you have ADHD and you have a very young child. This video was made drawing on the experiences of people who follow me on social media who shared what it was like for them parenting a young child as a person with ADHD, and of course, on my own experiences. In fact, I was supposed to have childcare today, but then somehow that didn't work out, so you're gonna hear some noise in the background. Possibly we're gonna be joined by a toddler. Just gotta roll with the punches. I'm gonna make a suggestion before you watch this video of the best way to use it. So throughout this video, I'm going to be referencing a lot of different materials that are gonna be helpful to you, like books, different people to follow on YouTube, different professionals who've put out blogs and that sort of a thing. And sometimes just a lot of resources themselves can be overwhelming, especially when you have ADHD, because it's easy for us to figure out what we want to do, but actually doing it is another thing. So here's my suggestion for how to use this video. As you're watching it, pick 3 of the resources that I suggest to try out. Make a date with yourself or a calendar reminder or a to-do out of actually accessing that resource, and just stick with 3 to begin with. If those 3 resources don't give you the results that you're looking for, come back to the video and pick some more. Like I said, I'm gonna be offering a lot. Trying to write down all of them or like order several books online or like subscribe to a bunch of YouTube channels is probably just going to result in you not actually engaging with those materials, because how many of us have like a million self-help books on our shelves that we haven't read yet? So yeah, pick 1, pick 2, pick 3. Start with just a couple, what you can handle. So why is it important that we talk about parenting a young child or a toddler when we have ADHD? For one thing, we need to talk about the second shift. The second shift is a term that was coined in the 1980s by Arlie Hochschild in her book, The Second Shift. The second shift refers to the unpaid domestic and emotional labor that parents do when they come home from their workday. So cooking, cleaning, remembering birthdays, tending children, all that jazz. When this book was written, Arlie Hochschild found that it was overwhelmingly women who were doing this second shift of unpaid domestic or emotional labor. Even today, in 2020, a recent study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, found that women in Norway, in the year 2020, are doing on average 1 more hour of unpaid labor per day than their male counterparts. In countries where gender norms are following a lot more traditional lines, like India, that number goes up to 6 hours per day. So all of the tips in this video are applicable to parents of any gender. And of course, parents of any gender can be doing the second shift. However, it's just still unfairly weighted towards women doing that domestic and unpaid labor. The thing is, a lot of women with ADHD already struggle with feeling like they're not able to perform those traditional gender roles, like keeping a clean house, being organized, cooking, remembering birthdays, because it's just so ingrained that women will do these things. So we've got the double whammy of more of the domestic responsibilities being put on us, as well as ADHD making it hard to perform those things. So on top of just struggling to do it, there's a lot of guilt around not being sort of good enough as a woman. Not saying that's applicable to everyone, but that is a thing that we hear a lot from women with ADHD. So a lot of my tips involve delegation. Delegation is really good if you're a mother with ADHD for 2 reasons. Number 1, people with ADHD tend not to delegate as much as they should. We just think we can do everything ourselves. We don't want to ask for help. Maybe we don't know when to ask for help. So delegating is just a really good habit to get into when you have ADHD. But if you are in a heterosexual couple, delegation is also good for feminist reasons. Equality in emotional labor is a good thing for your child to witness, and it's probably good for you. The other thing that it's important to understand is that that second shift tends to start right when our medication is wearing off, right? We take our medication first thing in the morning. Some of us take it midday, and around, the early evening, we're starting to get that medication drop. So these kinds of videos and strategies are especially important because you might need to be really on it when you feel the least on it. And that's tough. If you're finding that you have a really severe drop when your medication sort of wears out for the day and what you gonna do? So if you're finding that the med drop off for you is really severe and you're having trouble even doing basic functioning care tasks, this might be something to talk with your doctor about, because there are different types of ADHD medication, right? There's extended release. Maybe you can talk with your doctor about changing when you take your second dose. Definitely something to explore if you're noticing a dramatic effect when those meds wear out of your system. So without further ado, and before my kid disrupts us some more, let's talk about parenting a toddler. Number 1, safety. So in my last video, I talked a little bit about the need for safety around cleanliness and just like not having stuff on the floor that kids can choke on. And I'm gonna address mess and organization a little bit later in this video. When I'm talking about safety, what I'm talking about is stuff like toddlers' propensities to stick forks in light sockets and toddlers' propensities to run into traffic. So safety needs are often heightened during toddlerhood just because kids are so much more mobile. They're starting to walk, they're starting to run, they're curious about their world, which means that they're getting into all kinds of things. And that really requires vigilance from us, not exactly a strength when you have ADHD. So I think the first thing is just understanding that this period isn't going to last forever, but there is going to be a period of heightened vigilance and heightened awareness when you are with your child, especially outside the home, because probably at this point inside the home, you kind of know where the hot spots are, you know where you need to keep your kid away from. So it's really when you're going out that you have to be extra vigilant, and just knowing that is the first step, I think, because that vigilance costs us, right? Being on it, paying attention and being focused, that wears down your executive functioning really quick. So this is going to kind of loop back around when I start talking about self-care again, but really giving yourself downtime, giving yourself like time to build dopamine, have some fun, get some exercise, get a lot of rest is going to help you to be able to be more focused when you need to be focused for your child. Don't neglect yourself. Don't be a hero. If you're noticing that you're struggling with toddler safety, or that it's just making you feel really stressed and on edge, I would recommend booking a time with yourself, like actually booking a time in your calendar just for, 10 or 20 minutes where you sit down and you actually make a list of the toddler safety hazards that you've experienced. For example, my kid just loves running away in the parking lot. If I put her down to open the door, she will take that opportunity to run. She doesn't tend to go for electrical sockets or putting stuff in her mouth, but she's also really friendly with strangers. So by making a list of the things that you've noticed about your toddler, you can then start to generate ideas for how you can deal with them. Just writing these strategies out can be really helpful because of how our working memory deficits work. Yeah, you've probably thought of these things before. Yeah, you've probably solved these problems before. Because of working memory deficits, our brains are sort of like a paper bag with a hole in it. Thoughts go in, and then they just fall out. So rather than you having to remember over and over again, oh yeah, that's right, I can't let my kid do this. Or, oh yeah, that's right, my kid needs this. Write it down once, come up with a strategy, and keep that paper somewhere. So just as an example, if you have a child who runs away a lot in public, you might want to set aside a day where you make a game out of holding hands or practicing being safe in parking lots, and just spend a couple hours playing that game and practicing parking lot safety and actually making a concerted effort to deal with that issue. One of the things that I did was I made a game out of my toddler putting her hand on the round gas thing where, this thing where you put the gas. Anyway, it's perfectly round. So the game is, do you see a circle on the car? Go put your hand on the circle. She loves it, and it solves the problem of her running away. It might also be good to be honest with yourself about where distraction and lack of focus come in, especially when you're out with your child. Whether it's, using your phone or your device, or it's getting in conversations with others. Once you figure out where the sort of potholes for your attention are, you can start to come up with strategies that work for you. So there's a really great app called Forest, and it allows you to set a timer on your phone for 25 minutes and not use your phone. And while that's happening, a little tree grows and it becomes part of your forest and you get to keep it. It's adorable. While you're out with your toddler, whether you're grocery shopping, getting gas, whatever, you might want to turn Forest on, because then if you go to use your phone, you'll remember, oh, right, I'm not supposed to be using my phone right now. And that'll help remind you okay, I'm out, I'm at the store with my toddler, my kid runs everywhere. This is going to help me remember that I need to be focused. We can be more focused, But we also have to remember that we want it to be focused. If it's, getting sucked into conversations and small talk with strangers, or you're out with a friend and you're having a deep conversation and that distracts you from watching your toddler, it might be helpful to even come up with a saying that you want to be able to pull out of your back pocket. So something like, hey, this is really interesting, but little Charlie is running everywhere and I can't focus on what you're saying right now. Can we talk about this later? I mean, yes, that seems obvious, but sometimes just practicing the phrase that you want to say will help you remember to use it when you need it. If you haven't baby-proofed or toddler-proofed your home at this point, and you're struggling to do that, you can hire someone to do that. You could even just get a friend involved, right? If you have a parent friend who's really good at that kind of thing, ask them to come over and help assess where you need toddler-proofing. A great general tip for everyone with a toddler or baby is get down on your hands and knees, literally get down on their eye level to scan for things that are dangerous, because you will see things at a different level. If you have special circumstances, such as you're pregnant with your second child, or your child has special medical needs or a lot of doctor's appointments that require an extra level of organization, definitely consider working with a coach who can help you stay on your A game. We're just going to hear Puff the Magic Dragon in the background for a while. That's just a thing that's going to happen. If there are extra organizational needs, such as, a medication schedule, I would say go overboard with reminders rather than under. Do not count on yourself to remember. Make a chart. Make 7 charts. Put reminders in your phone. Put reminders around the house. Be in touch with your child's pediatrician or your child's other caregivers to get them on board to help support you. What's the matter? What's wrong? And the truth is, you probably know what you need to do to solve this problem. But the thing is that when we have ADHD, we never slow down enough to just be with our thoughts. It sounds funny, but like I said, book some time to problem solve. Set aside 15 minutes to half an hour to just sit down once a week, once a month, however often you feel like you need to, and write out what the issues are and try to come up with solutions. The best solutions for your life are going to be the ones that you generate. It's kind of just a matter of actually putting aside the time and doing it. N'est-ce pas? Number 2, routines and everything about them. So we have this whole love-hate relationship with routines. We really need the structure, and we really hate to be told what to do, even by ourselves. The thing about routines is that they help because of the ways that executive dysfunction impacts our decision-making. If you think about it, from the moment you wake up to the moment that you go to bed, you have a million tiny decisions to make. Do I get out of bed or do I snooze the alarm? Do I make coffee or do I go to the bathroom first? Should I return this email now or should I do it later? What should I have for breakfast? All day long, tiny decisions. And when you have executive dysfunction, you have an inability to prioritize. Everything feels equally as urgent as the next thing. So decisions can really cost us a lot and they can wear down our executive function. Routines remove the need for decisions. What's going on, baby? Do you want me to do it? Okay, come on, bring it here. Routines remove the need for all these decisions because you've done all your deciding in advance. But we also are black and white thinkers and we tend to get overly perfectionistic with our routines, and that's where they fail. You shouldn't be scheduling every, 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe don't be trying to do 10 things perfectly in your routine, and don't worry about breaking your streak. So keep your routine fairly fast and loose so that it can adapt with you and your child's circumstance, but have it remove the need for everyday decisions. So if you have ADHD, it's very likely that your child also has ADHD. It's about a 71% heritability rate. So routines are also really important for your child because kids with ADHD need predictability and they need transition time. So knowing what is coming next is going to really help reduce struggle and frustration when they go from one task to another. I tend to think that the best ADHD routines are periodically refreshed, meaning that you go over them once a month, once a quarter, whatever you need to, just to check and update how it's working for you. Chances are you're going to fall off your routine, and it's really important for that to be okay. So even if you have to restart your routine 4 times in a year, it's probably still 25% more time that you end up using a routine than using no routine. Also, if like me, you have a child that struggles with sleep, a bedtime routine is really important, but it has to be consistent. And consistency is a dirty word when you have ADHD. So if you are finding that you're struggling to follow through with your child's bedtime routine because it's boring or because at the end of the day your executive functioning is really low and you just don't want to do it, you might need to put some things in the routine I mean, it could be any routine, not even the bedtime one, that make the routine fun for you. So maybe you play a song that both you and your child really like and you sing it. Maybe you have a special treat at bedtime or like a special, sensory pillow or object that you both get to use. The more that you can make the bedtime routine something that's appealing to your ADHD, the more likely you are to get your own buy-in. I also think the stories that we tell ourselves about these types of things are really important. So often when we don't want to do something or when our ADHD is telling us, oof, don't do that, that's boring, we're really focusing on the negative aspect of the thing that we don't want to do. So for example, you might be telling yourself, oh, I'm so tired, I just can't go through with this bedtime routine. Or you might be like, oh man, I really just want to watch one more episode of that show. So if you find that the story you're telling yourself is, oh, but I really just want to watch one more episode of whatever this show is, then you're really focusing on what that bedtime routine or what that routine is taking away from you, what it's costing you.
I'm moving out.
I know it's broken, baby. There's not much we can do about that. It's broken. Okay? It doesn't shut anymore. You can just hold it, okay? Do you want to go pick some bunny ears from your room? Okay, go pick some bunny ears. Instead, try coming up with a story or a message that helps you focus on the positive or what's incentivizing or inspiring or interesting about doing the bedtime routine. You might want to come up with a mantra or a saying or an affirmation that helps you remember why that bedtime routine or whatever routine it is important to you. So for example, it might be something like, doing this bedtime routine helps me feel like a great mom. My child really needs consistency and I love supporting my child. It sounds a little hokey, but focusing on this aspect of what you're doing helps you remember why you want to do it as opposed to like what sucks about having to do it. Don't be afraid to say no to things that disrupt the routine. This can be really hard for us when we have ADHD because we want to say yes to everything. Oh, your friend from out of town wants to come visit? Heck yes! Your friend wants to take you out for dinner? Let's do it! You want to have an impromptu backyard campfire? That sounds so fun! Think about the routine. If it disrupts your routine and the routine is really important, get comfortable with saying no. As a reminder, if you are struggling with bedtime above and beyond what feels like it's normal, a sleep coach is someone who can help you with your child's bedtime struggles. Side note about cooking and eating routines. Routines are functional, not moral. Courtesy of Domestic Blisters on TikTok. So if they support you and your child in getting nutritious, healthy food, great. If routines are just stressing you out more and your child wants to just graze throughout the day, that's fine too. Feed yourself and your child in a way that makes the most sense for your family. I like to do a small meal plan where I pick a couple breakfasts, a couple lunches, 1 or 2 dinners that I cook, and then I supplement that a whole bunch with frozen meals and fresh foods from the deli and the occasional ordering in. Again, routines are functional, not moral, so have them be as loose or as tight as you need them to be. There is no one right way of doing things. One of the commonest and most helpful tips that a lot of ADHD parents gave me was to have a lot of no-cook, grab-and-go snacks and food available, both for yourself and your child. Stuff like goldfish crackers, raisins, hard-boiled eggs, grapes, fruit, crackers. Sometimes you just don't want to cook stuff, and that's okay.